Hi everyone, so today I would like to explain Chapter 16, Teaching Speaking, from Teaching by Principle by Douglas Brown. Let's get started. Oral communication skills in pedagogical research. As Judge 2008 noted, the conversation class is something of an enigma in language teaching. The goals and the techniques for teaching conversations are extremely diverse. Depending on the student, teacher, and overall context of the class, historically, conversation classes have ranged from quasi-communicative drilling to free, open, and sometimes agenda-free discussions among students. Because the overwhelming majority of adult learners will never acquire an accent-free command of a foreign language, should a language program that emphasizes whole should a language program that emphasizes full language, meaningful context, and automaticity, automaticity of production focus on these tiny phonological details of language? The answer is yes, but in a different way from what was perceived to be essential a few decades ago. And then accuracy and fluency. And while fluency may in many communicative language courses be an initial goal in language teaching, accuracy is achieved to some extent by allowing students to focus on the elements of phonology, grammar, morphosyntax, and discourse in their spoken output. And then complexity. Complexity also varies according to cognitive operations, abstract thinking, quantity of information, negotiation of meaning, and time pressure, among other factors. And then the interaction effect. Nuna 1991 note yet another complication in interactive discourse, what is he calls the interlocutor effect, or the difficulty of a speaking task as gauged by the skills of others interlocutor. In other words, one learner's performance is always colored by that of the person with whom he or she is talking. And the intelligibility. A now outdated model of English language teaching assumed that intelligibility should be gauged by whether non-native speakers are intelligible to native speakers. And then corpus data on spoken language. The intelligibility issue that has been revolutionized by a growth of readily available corpora of spoken language. One of the key developments in research on teaching oral production of special interest to teachers of English worldwide in the wider range of language varieties that are now available through such projects as the International Corpus of English, which contains data from the spoken Englishes of Hong Kong, New Zealand, Singapore, the UK, Nigeria, the Caribbean, and others. And the genres of spoken language. Finally, research on spoken language has recently attended to a specification of difference among various genres of oral production and how to teach those variations. What is judged to be acceptable and or correct varies the context or genre, such as small talk, discussion, and narrative, among others. And then there are factors contributing to difficulty of speaking tasks. The factors are clustering, redundancy, reduced forms, performance variables, colloquial language, rate of delivery, stressed, rhythm and intonation, complexity, and interaction. Okay, so we are again to the micro skills and macro skills of oral communication. I'll mention four several points. For the micro skills, produce chunks of language of different lengths, orally produce differences among the English phonemes and allophonic variants, and then produce English stress pattern, words in stress and unstressed position, rhythmic structure, and intonational counters. And then for the macro skills, use cohesive devices in spoken discourse and accomplish appropriately communicative functions according to situations, participants, and goals, and use appropriately gestures, implicator, pragmatic convention, and other social linguistic features in face-to-face conversations. Okay, and then these are the types of classroom speaking performs. We have imitative, intensive, responsive, transactional, dialogue, interpersonal dialogue, and extensive monologue. Okay, and then principles for teaching speaking skills. There are principles for teaching speaking skills. Focus on both fluency and accuracy depending on your objective, and then ascertain that the complexity of your technique is appropriate, and provide techniques that sparks the interest of students, and encourage the use of authentic language in meaningful contexts, and provide appropriate feedback, capitalize on the natural link between speaking and listening, and give students opportunities to initiate oral communication, and encourage the development of speaking strategies. And then the teaching conversation. The potential goals to incorporate into conversation tasks. Conversing for both transactional and interactional purposes, and then producing both short and long term conversation, and encouraging strategies for managing turn taking in conversation, and teaching strategies for opening and closing conversation, and initiating, developing, maintaining, and responding to a range of topics using casual, natural, and formal styles of speaking. And then using conversation in different social settings and social encounters, and then developing strategies for repairing trouble spots in conversation, including communication breakdowns and comprehension problems, maintaining fluency in conversation through avoiding excessive pausing, breakdowns and errors of grammar or pronunciation, and then using conversational filters and small talks, and then using conversational routines. And then oral communication for academic purposes. The first is discussion. One of the most difficult aspects of L2 learning is developing the ability to initiate and sustain this discussion in the classroom. Uh, the way the discussion will conducted is uh, asking for more information, like could you elaborate please, or agreeing and disagreeing politely, like I see your point but blah blah blah, and then supporting your opinion, let me tell you why blah blah blah, and then coming to consensus. For example, would you all agree to blah blah blah. And then for the presentations, a second distinguishing characteristic of academic oral communication is the frequent demand for making presentation. And then what are the factors within learner that affect pronunciation, and how can you deal with each of them? Here is a list of variables to consider. The native language, age, exposure, innate phonetic ability, identity and agency, motivation and concern for group pronunciation. And then focus on form error treatment. And then the role of feedback. One of the keys to successful L2 learning lies in the feedback that the learners receive from others. Research has shown that the quality and quantity of feedback given to learners will affect what they eventually incorporate into their linguistic competence. And then here, how to treat errors? If some forms of treatments is chosen, quite a number of strategies for treatment are possible. There are simply indicate that an error occurred and point out the location of the error, recast and indicate the type of error. And then assessing speaking in the classroom. There are types of item and tasks for assessing speaking. There are imitative speaking tasks, intensive speaking tasks, responsive speaking tasks, interactive speaking tasks, and extensive speaking tasks. And then evaluating and scoring speaking tasks. The evaluation of oral production performance can get quite complicated. First, you need to be clear in specifying the level of language you are targeting. One or more of at least 6 possible criteria may be your target. Criteria for evaluating speaking tasks. The first is pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, grammar, discourse features, and tasks. Okay, so that's all about chapter 16. Thank you for your attention and see you.